what is yet to be achieved. This is the Situation Room, and I am Sami Wiafe.
Excellent. Be that business owner that stands out and is very productive.
You're so confident. How do you do it?
It starts with Built. Where does your confidence come from? Paperwork made simple. Built takes all the hassle away. Yep, don't be like her. Built is your all-in-one simplified finance platform. It's your home for invoices, payments, your payroll, and so much more.
Oh, wow.
Grow your business today. Sign up now at built.africa. Download the Built app now.
In a world filled with challenges, we all need guidance, hope, and a lifeline to anchor us.
This is Lifeline, and I'm your host, Fred Crunchy Mensa.
From social issues, relationship challenges, and family matters, Lifeline is here to inspire, uplift, and guide you on your journey.
Where we give you support, where we hold your hand through the valley and through the thick and thins of life.
Join Bishop Fred Crunchy Mensa.
I welcome you especially to Lifeline.
Every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. right here on Channel 1 TV. Let's walk this path together, strengthen our faith, our families, and our lives. Lifeline, because every soul deserves a guiding light. Tune in to Lifeline on Channel 1 TV and let's grow together.
This is the Situation Room. On Thursdays, we bring you this particular program, and here we talk politics. And as you're aware, there's been a number of political issues happening in this country. Start with the 120 days of President John Dramani Mahama, where on Wednesday evening, he held an address to the nation, touting his achievements as far as the 120 days of his administration is concerned. Today, the opposition New Patriotic Party also held a press conference, more or less damning a number of things that the president has done in the last 120 days. Well, on Situation Room today, we'll have an analysis of what the president said on Wednesday evening and what the opposition New Patriotic Party has also said today in their press conference addressed by their minority leader in Ghana's parliament, Alexander Apenyo-Markin. But as always, on Situation Room, I don't do this alone. I do this with my friend, colleague, and brother, Fred Tete Jabano. Fredo, what's up?
Sammy, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. God is still keeping it. It's been an interesting week.
Yes, very, very interesting. A lot of activities.
A lot of activities,
It started
yeah.
on Monday when there was the Save the Judiciary march or demonstration led by the NPP and other political parties, basically to protest the what they claim is the interference of the executive, the Mahama-led government, in the affairs of the judiciary. So they cited the issues of the Chief Justice who has been suspended. They raised concerns of the appointment of or the nomination of some new justices. And in all, their issue is that they believe that there's too much political interference within the judiciary, which they think that should come to an end, based on some of these two things I've mentioned. This protest started from
the Supreme Court.
No, it started from the Obras
Board, and then went to
the Supreme Court to the Jubilee House, and it went peacefully. And for me, what I am happy about is that outside people protesting what they believe is wrong, at least we are allowing protest.
Yeah,
we are allowing protest. You know, some time back, having to protest was a very big issue.
Even within the premise of the Jubilee House
exactly.
was an issue.
It was a very big issue where the police would usually go to court to stop protesters. In the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've seen about 2 or 3 protests. and all the protesters were allowed to go wherever they wanted to go, even to the Jubilee House. And for me, it helps in our democracy. It's good that people are allowed to vent. People are allowed to put out what they think is wrong. So that's one good thing about the protest. As to the concerns and the genuineness of the concerns, everybody and what they believe in and what they think should be done, whether really there's an interference from the executive into the judiciary. I'm sure people hold their various views about it. But basically, the discussion is about the Chief Justice, the suspension of the Chief Justice, the process for a removal. And as I've always said on this show, I believe that we should allow the constitutional process
to go on,
but ensure that the people who are in charge of this process, the committee, give a fair hearing and come out with a fair ruling or a fair decision, which would help save what we call a dying judiciary. Because don't forget, the NDC have said that the judiciary is dying. The MPP are also claiming that the judiciary is being killed. So in all, we need an action, or we need to take decisions which would help save the judiciary, both from the NDC side and the NPP side. And that's the onus lies on the committee to do that particular job. So yes, let the people protest, let the constitutional process go on. But the people who have the mandate to ensure that the right thing is done, the 5-member committee, we pray and hope that they take the decision which will save the country's judiciary at the long run.
Definitely, that's what we all want. We live in a democracy where there's rule of law.
Yes.
The Constitution is supreme.
Yes.
And as the lawyers always say, you and I are not lawyers, but one day we will take up that cause. The law is the law. And so let's just hope and pray that due process will be followed. And then Fred, I think on Wednesday evening, there was another issue that also came up.
Yes, that's
the embattled former National Signal...
The head of the National Signal Bureau, Kwabena Dubois, he just...
Looks like he's spitting.
Yeah.
A lot of fire.
He's giving out so many things. Yeah. But you see, let's be really fair to him. That letter he wrote, he wrote it to the National Security Coordinator. It's in response to the trial and investigations he's been going through for the last 1 month or 2 months. And it's regards to his case in court. As we know, he's been charged in court, and one of the accusations that he was stealing. He's been charged with stealing. He's been accused of stealing about 49 million
Ghana cedis.
And in his defense, the Attorney General came out publicly twice to talk about this case before he went to court. And after he went to court, he came to update the nation on the charges he had brought against Kwabena Dubois. Kwabena Dubois had always insisted that he's innocent. Yesterday, we saw a letter which he wrote yesterday addressed to the National Security Coordinator. Then, finally, we saw this letter in. And in the letter, he says that there are a lot of security things and details and disbursements of money which are supposed to be national security secrets. And if he has to put them out, it's going to be a lot of issues.
And from where he sits, or where he sat previously, he's previously a lot of information as far as national security is concerned. And so if he's speaking, there should be cause for worry.
If he's speaking, there should be cause for worry. He's talked about money dispersed to MPs. He's talked about money given to political parties. Some money is given to special aids, allegedly. We haven't heard from any of these people, but what we know that this is what he's saying, and he is coming from a point of sitting at a place where he's allegedly distributing some of these money. As to whether they are true or not true, we cannot tell for now. But the question is, at what point in time can somebody holding that position decide and say that this information I have is a national security secret? It's supposed to be out of the public domain. And at what point do you put some of these things in the public domain? Because as we've put, this letter has been leaked as part of his case. There are things that if he says should not be in the public, is in the public. Also, at what point can a state investigative agency stop stop investigations with regards to national security issues. So, for example, he was sent to Iyoko. Iyoko has been interrogating him. Iyoko has been investigating this matter. Is he obliged to give Iyoko these information?
Which
especially when
classified information. Yeah.
Especially when these information Iyoko is seeking for, or he has to do with an accusation of he stealing.
Yeah.
You understand? So these are very complex.
It's quite a complex.
These are very complex
issue,
issues which we wait to see. This case can be related to the NCA case during the Nanado era, where there was a spy machine, there was a deputy national security coordinator. At a point, they raised the same concerns, but the court asked that, really, what are your concerns? Come and testify. So, I mean, we watch to see. This is just started. Yeah. The case is yet to progress. And once it goes to court, we are sure to see a lot more of this. And whether the court would indeed stop him from putting out some of these things. The court has options. It can be heard in chambers. Some of these things can be heard in chambers. The court can allow for a public sitting to be for him to testify.
So the court has that discretion?
Yes. Even the state, led by an attorney general, could decide that we'll withdraw or something. Or they could even add more charges. Okay. So it's early stages yet. Let's see how it progresses.
Fred, on Wednesday, we come back to Wednesday again, President John Dramani Mahama was 120 days in office. You remember, at the launch of the NDC manifesto on the 24th of August 2024, so a few months to the election, the NDC launched its manifesto at the University of Education in Winneba, where the president, then candidate John Dramani Mahama, said he's signing a social contract with Ghanaians and a number of things, 26 items listed, that these are the things he's going to do within the first 120 days if he's sworn in as president of the Republic. Now, yesterday or on Wednesday was exactly 21 days since the president 120 days since the president assumed the reins of power and started implementing the social contract that he signed with Ghanaians. We have a scorecard, what he has achieved within the last 120 days, what is in the pipeline, and what is yet to be done. So Fred will take us through what has been achieved, what is currently ongoing or in the pipeline, as the politicians will say, and what is yet to be achieved as far as this social contract is concerned. And then we'll have a conversation with two political actors on this particular issue. And as we progress, we'll introduce these individuals to who will join us here in the studio for us to have a conversation on this matter. So Fred.
Yeah, so Sami, as you said, 120 days of the Mahama social contract. There were 26 promises. Out of the 26 promises, he's achieved some. Some are ongoing. Others have not been achieved as of now. So we'll go through the scorecard and see. Let's start with the 120 days, what he has fulfilled in the contract. The nomination of a full list of cabinet, he's done that. The president did that on February 19th. By February 19th, the president had put out the full list of his cabinet. The second one was the formation of a leaner government, reduction to 60 ministers. As we speak now, the president has done 57 ministers or 56 ministers. We have 4 more. We don't know whether he's going to add to this 4, but he has achieved, or you can say he's overachieved based on the 56 or 60 promise he made. That was done. That has been done. The president has the code of conduct that was launched 2 days ago, where he went or he launched the code of conduct for the ministers and he warned that they may lose their jobs if they do not follow these code of conduct for his appointees. There's also organizing a national education dialogue. That was done. The 1 million coders program has also been done. The Mahama Cares, that was launched a week ago. That also has been done. The Ejumara program has also been launched. The free tertiary education for disabled was done on the March 11th. Then free sanitary pad for girls initiative was also done somewhere last week. On May 1st, the president also did or launched the Black Star Experience, which was part of his social contract. He says he was going to give seed money for the Women's Development Bank. The seed money, we are told, has been given, but the bank has not been established yet. We talk about the establishment of an accelerated export development council. He did that on the 5th of May. Policy banning purchase of state assets. That has been done. It was part of the code of conduct for his appointees. Reopen probes into the 2020 election related violence, 2020 and 2020 before election related violence. Yesterday, the president indicated that he had asked the police to do that, and that is ongoing. That particular probe.
The police have even sent a team to the area to go and check.
That probe is ongoing. He says he was going to launch the Tree for Life and Blue Water initiative. This has to do with Galamsey. That has been done, but then there's still a question about it. The fight against Galamsey, the repeal of the airline, and promises to totally ban mining in forest areas. That we are looking out for. But in terms of launching the Tree for Life and Blue Water initiative, that was done on the 14th of April. No fee stress. That is the first year fees, payment of fees for first year students. That was done on the 29th of April. We also have a probe into the Akosombo spillage. Yesterday, the president indicated that he has put in place a committee. What we are told is that the committee have completed their work and they presented their report yesterday.
And I heard him yesterday warning VRA bosses that if this particular thing occurs again, he will fire
the chief executive and all of them, deputy chief executives, that he will fire all of them. The abolition of taxes. The president, in this first budget, abolished the e-levy. Yeah. He also dealt with the betting tax. Yes. What is left is the COVID tax, which he says would be dealt with in the next budget. Let's look at some of the things which are ongoing. Investigation into the Ahmed Swale death. We heard the police some time ago giving us a report on what they have done. They also put a suspect before the court. Investigation into SkyTrain, that is ongoing. The chief, the Attorney General actually updated us on that. A new bill to streamline government scholarship.
Yesterday, Felix told us that Cabinet has approved. They're waiting for Parliament to sit and then
so that we classify under ongoing. Then let's look at yet to be fulfilled in the contract. Review of taxes on vehicles. That we haven't heard anything about. The commencement of a 24-hour economy. That we haven't heard anything about. Review of Customs Amendment Act 2020. That hasn't been done yet. New bill to streamline government scholarship. That hasn't been done yet. Then investigative process to purge state security agencies of vigilante elements. That we haven't seen anything yet. So when we look at the 26 promises, indeed, the Mahama administration has fulfilled majority of them per the promises on or in the social contract. Some are ongoing, and we have about 4 or 5 of them which are yet to be fulfilled.
Thank you very much. We'll continue this conversation, but let me invite Dr. Sharif Khalif, who is with the Office of the Vice President, to help us analyze what is left to be done and what really is supposed, the process leading to it being done. And then also Miracles Abuaji, who is an aide to former Vice President and MPP presidential candidate in the 2024 election, will also join us on Zoom to analyze, the scorecard as far as the performance of President John Dramani Mahama, 120 day social contract with Ghanaians is concerned. So Doc can join us. Doc, you can join us here. Thank you very much for coming as always.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming.
Right.
And then Miracles Abuaji also join us on Zoom to also speak to us on this about. Doc, first of all, many people will say that the president has ticked the right boxes. You agree?
Well, why not? It's pretty much clear. But I mean, it's contextualizing this is very important. We know, it all started in the US with the first 100-day concept of a government, which has been an emblem of assessing leaders around the world, where you saw key policies of President Franklin D. Roosevelt trying to actually make a case to say, that is where I firm up legislations. That is where I announce big ticket items and policy, moving all the way to, the JF Kennedy enactment of the Peace Corps, among other issues. What have we seen in that of President Mahama? We're talking about a Jumaura project, which was launched, the 1 million coders project, which was launched, right? A gold board to back all of these currency issues and fluctuations. We're already seeing some results emanating from that, from the central bank, as far as currency stability and the health of the city is concerned. We're talking about launching a code of conduct for public sectors, which he has done. We're talking about first 120 days, right? This is a very reasonable approach to look at it. I just gave the 100 days as an emblem of what we do. And he came out with his concept, the novelty, to say, I'm going to achieve all of this within the first 100 days. His cabinet, he met that, you know. And the government is functioning. The state is moving smoothly. He still have about 4 slots of, I think, ministerial appointment to even meet that. So in that light, he's even overperformed, if you put it that way, right? So this tells you that there's a president who has seen it all, and he has a full appreciation of what the government machinery is. And this time around, he said, look, I've got 1 term. Let me take my time and get this right. Informed by history and justified by the exigencies of the time. You would see that he inherited an overheated economy. But yet still, what he said, nuisance taxes must go. Where are they now? They are all gone. I always say the last budget, or this budget we've seen, which is very critical, makes an important statement. Quite often than not, I see political pundits and economists trying to assess the government or its performance through the lens of that budget. It may not be a fair one, but where you have to say is that I've inherited an overheated economy. The measures that have been put in place, because it's not a government that is continuing, it just took over when the economy was overheated. The argument I kept saying is that to get an economy to turn a corner, it has to cool off first. And the cooling off effect comes with a lot to be done as far as ticking some boxes and taking bold measures are concerned. Nuisance taxes, gone, right? Enactment of the code, gone. Internal controls as far as expenditure of appointees is concerned, enacted. So these are very, bold steps for a president to take. And all of the promises he's made within his first 120 days, you see that he's taking them. You may not be able to achieve all of this. I don't know how much criticism society wants to give to that.
But that then is a criticism. You say you're going to do this in 120 days.
Yes.
You've done majority. What about the others? If you say you're going to do all this in 120,
others, you see, what I
should have known that.
No, but I told you that 100 days is a symbolic. I started by giving you a chronology of even how the first 100-day assessment of a government, it used to be 100 days.
Yeah.
President Mahama
but he decided to do it 120
days. That is even
covering the first quarter of the year.
Yeah, accommodating a realistic measure. But if you run a content analysis of this first 100 days of all of these administrations, stemming from where it even emanated, you don't achieve all of that. But the big ticket items and the indication that you would, I like your word, you said majority has been achieved. Yeah. So if I say my first 100 days, within a statement of that, I think that you need to pat the president at the back to say that he's really done this. And these are bold steps that has been taken by the president. You look at the budget, big ticket items, right? 24-hour economy, secretariat being set up. He's got an advisor to that effect. As I said, the Jumaura, among other issues, all of that in the pipeline. Mahama Cares, big announcement, and an integration to our already existing health insurance system. So these are social interventions and the prudence. And I said, look, and the real signaling that Mahama Atufor's economy is giving, we're beginning to see some fruits of that. So I think that this is where the conversation should be centered on. If we want to go on the periphery of what has not been achieved, we may lose sight of the symbolic announcement of 120 days.
From where you're coming from, where you're coming from, you may know why some of these, in fact, please take us to the ones which are yet to be achieved.
Yeah, we can have a conversation.
You can tell us why these are not done yet.
Now, when you say I can tell, the president is
appointed from where you said, I'm saying you can tell because from where you're coming from.
Yeah, review from where you're coming from. On vehicles, among other issues. This may require some legislation. Okay. If you agree with me. Yeah. Commencement of 24-hour economy. We're talking about enacting or changing, making amendments to the GIPC Act, among other issues.
I know Guzi Tano was in Parliament some time ago.
So it tells you that this is in motion. If you speak to the GRE and tax experts and the Attorney General, it tells you that there's something before him and this is being looked at. Review of Custom Amendments Act 2020. Again, a legislative issue that needs parliamentary process and approval. New bill to streamline government scholarship. Again, a legislation that will need parliamentary process, approval, and enactment. Right? All what he needs is do. If these probably came to him this morning, I'm sure he will accent on all of them. But they need to go through a democratic process within Parliament. Investigative process to purge state security agencies of vigilance. I mean, the Attorney General has had a wide mandate and has been looking at these things, organizing process, and informing the public as to where it is. So these are things that he can wake up by the day and say by the stroke of a pen, this is what is happening. So you understand why this is.
Look, before we go to miracles about John Zoom, there's been this concern about the fact that, yes, indeed, the NDC government led by John Mahama have ticked the boxes in terms of his promises in 120 days.
Yeah.
But when you look at these promises,
you see, when we even use the word tick box exercise, it debases the essence of what he's doing. He's achieved.
Yeah,
I think that's more of
It could mean the same thing. It could really mean the same thing.
Exercise. From where I come from, and within my practice, when you tick boxes, sometimes you miss the essence of what ought to be done. So these are achievements.
Exactly the concern of the people.
In the context of achievement, not tick box exercise. President Mahama is committed to delivering his manifesto. So he's achieving, not ticking boxes.
Okay. No, exactly the concern of the people. You may call it achievement, but when you look at some of them, it's like ticking the boxes. I said, I'll do this, so I have done this. I've launched that. I said, I'll do this, so I have done this. I said, I'll do it. But really, what is the impact on the people? For example, there's been a concern of the number of appointees. You are going to appoint 60 ministers. You've been able to appoint 56 ministers. But when you look outside the appointment of ministers, look at the other government appointees, chief executives, and other positions, then overall cost of government. What impact will it make? Because when you look at the numbers, you go to the Flagstaff House.
No, you're missing the point here. When you say chief executives, that's a different arm altogether. When you talk about chief executives of state institutions, that has been existing. In his promise, he never said I was going to reduce the size of chief executives.
But you're reducing the size of government.
Yeah, he said he was ministers. I'll reduce the size of ministers to X. He gave a number, which he's within. So I think that we should take the words and measure it right. Now I see where you're going with the Flagstaff House or the Jubilee House. I've just come from the Jubilee House where I work. If you want,
of which you are a staffer.
I can open the doors of the Jubilee House to you and you walk through. Right? They are makeshift cubicles that are still empty in the Jubilee House, which tells you, right, that the occupancy was high and low now. That is very symbolic in and of itself in the office occupation. Jubilee House, the office of the vice president used to have an annex. You journalists who drive in there. The annex is empty. There's not a single soul in the annex, right? The annex was overflowing if you had visited before. There's not a single soul in the annex. So that should tell you something. These are even symbolic features of the government that any observer of public administration would adhere to the fact that he's actually achieving something.
Okay, Doc, just give me a minute. Let me go on Zoom and speak to Miracles Awachi. He's an aide to former Vice President Dr. Mahama Bawumia, and also the spokesperson for the campaign, the 2024 election. Dennis, thank you very much for your time. Your party held a press conference today addressed by the minority leader. He says that the first 120 days of John Mahama is empty and cosmetic. Why this description?
I mean, what shall it profit the Ghanaian people if you use even 2 ministers to run your government and then they end up spending 2.7 billion cedis as against the previous government you call bloated that spends 327 million. So if you spend 2.7 billion cedis to run a so-called lean government, and then the bloated, so-called bloated government uses 327 million cedis, I find it quite strange that anybody would take such a government serious. But the fact of the matter, Sami, is that this government is just what they say among the Gen Zs, licking our brains. To the extent that you yourself, on your own volition, out of the big manifesto you have, decides to do an extraction of it and also provide us with what you call your 120-day social contract. Nobody asked you for it. Nobody put a gun to your head. What it means is that you're very sure that as for these list of promises, these ones I can do them in my first 120 days. No Ghanaian was going to ask you for first 120 days performance assessment. We are waiting for you to finish your 4-year mandate, then we assess you. But on your own volition, you brought 120-day promises. Now look at the analysis you did critically, and you would realize that almost all the things they claim they have achieved are the intangibles. The tangibles, the things, the promises that would make a real impact on the people are still outstanding. And Sami, I keep hearing you saying they've achieved majority, and I am looking at the data, and I'm wondering how you are doing the assessment and which majority you speak of. Then I listened to the analysis that you earlier did, then I understand where the gap is coming from. How do you tell me that this government has achieved the promise of making first-year student fees stress-free? How do you tell me they've achieved it? Simply because they hurriedly, about 5 days ago, went to launch it. Mention one Ghanaian student, one Ghanaian tertiary student that has received first-year fees as promised by the government. Remember, it is the government itself that said that this academic year, they knew they would be sworn in on January 7th, but they said that this academic year, they are going to pay for all first-year students. Indeed, when the Minister for Education was being vetted, he said that for the first years who have even already gone to school, he's going to go ahead and refund the fees that they paid to them. As at yesterday, which is the 120th day of the NDC being in government, not a single Ghanaian first-year tertiary student has received any fees. So I'm surprised you would say it's been achieved. Simply because it was launched or a portal was open and said, come and apply. That is not what you said. Note it. And I'm glad Doc has himself said that context and the words are important. In their 120 days social contract, you'd realize that the NDC chose their words carefully. In areas where they want to implement, they said, implement, we will implement. In areas where they want to simply launch it and tick that box, they said, we will launch. So how do you come and tell me that you promised to launch the Ejumapa program, launch the 1 million coders program, which you have done, and so you have fulfilled. And then when it comes to stress-free first-year students, where you said you will implement, you are simply saying we should take it for you because you have launched it. Indeed, if your promise was going to be launched, you were actually going to indicate, just as you did for others, that we shall launch the first-year no stress-free policy. But in this case, you said you will implement. And as we speak, you haven't implemented it because no single Ghanaian tertiary student has received a dime. So it cannot be taken. And so it's important that we look at these things. For example, you say you are going to remove draconian taxes, and then you list the taxes to
Hello, Dennis. Dennis, unfortunately, the telephone line, Dennis, unfortunately, the internet is not our best of friends as we speak, but then we'll try and get or raise Dennis, back on the on the Zoom, and then speak to him. He was making a point there before the internet matter. But the doc, he's raising a number of issues that launching these projects is different from implementing them.
Well, but you don't wake up, snap your fingers, or pull a magic wand and have a project in motion. You first of all got to go through a process. And the launch in and of itself, which has to have an element of awareness creation and the advertisement of the program that this is for you. Because the president is not doing it for himself. He's doing it for the good people of Ghana. Ejumora, for instance. How would the good people of Ghana know that Ejumora is in motion? You and I may have the privilege of the internet. Not everyone does. You and I may have the influence of media, among other issues. Not everyone does. But when this is done and the key stakeholders are brought on board, they are the real implementers of it. They trickle it down. And that's exactly what we're doing. How do we go by, initiating a Jumaura without launching it? When is the first of its kind? In the nature on which it's formulated. Well, it's understandable that, if we have to have a criticism of something, we must have something to say, which is welcome, and we're in a democracy. But where credit is due, we ought to give where it's due. How many presidents have we had in their first 100 days commit themselves to this much? I feel for President Mahama so much that he's having sleepless nights in trying to ensure that all of this is done, putting all his appointees in check, monitoring them 24/7 to ensure that all of these promises he's making for the first 120 days and beyond. I keep saying that the first 120 days is just a symbolic gesture of saying this is what we're going to do, but we are committed to a 4-year program. not a one-year program, not a two-year program. The mandate Ghanaians have given His Excellency President John Mahama is to deliver a 4-year mandate. As I was speaking to your sister station yesterday about the economy, I said, our focus is not the first quarter, the second quarter, or the first year. Our focus is a 4-year economy. Okay. What would a Mahama 4-year economy yield? What would a Mahama 4-year governance yield? That is what our focus and our eyes are on the ball.
Dr. Ali, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. You're still watching The Situation. We're coming to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Samir Yafi. I'm doing it with Fred Tete Ijabana. On Zoom is Miracles Abuaje, an aide to former Vice President and former MPP presidential candidate in the 2024 election, Dr. Mahama Bawumia, and Dr. Sharif Khalif, who is coming from the office of the Vice President. We'll go for a break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
This Friday on Footprints, it's the turn of Kweku Sinti Misa, aka KSM, who shares his own story about his educational journey, his life as an actor and talk show host.
Preserve constitution says if you come there even for one day, or that day, one day, or that day. But proper college, that is when I realized that I could really speak. You know, because I joined the debating society in 1973. For me now, in my old age, I think the multi-party thing has not done the best for us. And some sort of a union thinking of great minds would have helped Ghana better than what we have now. When I heard that Vibe, there's a new station called Vibe and they're looking for, at that time, they said presenters. I said, okay, then I think I can do talk radio. Almost every single stand-up comedian in Ghana was a university graduate.
Oh, wow.
Because they saw me and they realized, oh, so it's okay to have your master's and still joke. As part of my bragging rights, I changed that image. Cool. And I made comedy an intellectual exercise. Political and correct and Rollins sitting there, his wife, many people from the, what do you call it? Diplomatic community.
Yeah, I remember.
Footprints airs every Friday at 7 p.m. with a repeat on Sunday at 4 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Welcome. It's Play to Aid.
Get ready for the game show where every play has a purpose. Welcome to Play to Aid, the only game show where your knowledge and skill don't just win you prizes, they help change lives.
What sport is considered the most popular in the world?
Every point you earn goes toward real-world support, from school supplies to health kits, clean water to emergency relief. Play smart, play big, play to aid. Catch all the action, the drama, and the heat.
Most commonly spoken language in Brazil.
Portuguese. Play to Aid every Sunday at 3:30 p.m. only on Channel 1 TV.
Edna, let's begin.
The Play to Aid game show is proudly sponsored by Tang Palace, Giraffe Island, and VVIP.
Yeah, welcome back. You're still watching The Situation Room, coming to you live from our studio here in our Crown Situation. As you know, we talk politics, and President John Dramani Mahama is 120 days old in office. On Wednesday night, he addressed the nation to tell us what he's achieved so far in the last 120 days. The opposition New Patriotic Party, the NPP, held a press conference today describing the last 120 days as empty and cosmetic. On the line now, again, is Miracles Abuaje. We're having a conversation with him before the internet trip, so he's back to conclude his submission that he was making before we come back to the studio and speak to Dr.
It's ironic that you're struggling to speak to the people of digitalization in an internet that's not very stable.
You're making your point before the line dropped.
Yes, tell Doc that they should make the 5G a reality. so I mean, I was saying that personally, I don't place much premium on these whole 100, 120 days. I think it's just for the optics. Not much can be achieved within the period. That's why even in the US, it's more about signing of executive orders and then getting them out there to start implementation. But in the case of the NDC, they put themselves in the box. They listed what they believe are the things they can achieve and what they think they can do within the period. And so you cannot say you will launch a Jumapa, which you have done, and then when it comes to implement the no stress-free fees, you say because you have launched it, it's fulfilled. No, that is not fulfilled. You'd realize that critically, the intangibles are the ones that the NDC government actually have been able to tick the boxes. And these intangibles, they basically did most of them in the last 2 weeks. So what they did is that they set up a program to just move around and be launching. So if you convene an education consultative conference, really it's an intangible. It's not something that's such a big deal. If you go and launch free distribution of sanitary pads, I mean, if you go and launch Mahama cares, if you go and launch a Jumeirah, these are things you can do in 2 hours or 1 hour. The critical things, the tangibles, the things that will have direct impacts on the people, which they promised they will do in 120 days, are the things they haven't done. And so if you look at what we have, I mean, I'm looking at it and I have the table, I'll share with you something. Out of the 25 promises they made, they have actually fulfilled 11, which is 44% of their own promises. Partially fulfilled are 2, which is 8%. And the proportion not fulfilled are 12, which is 48%. And this is hard fact. There's no debate around it. You can't make a promise and then come and explain its outcome. When you made a promise, the outcome was there. It's there. We saw it. It's written black and white. It's either you did it or you didn't do it. But you can't come and be explaining. I heard Doc talking about, oh, this is surely a legislation. It will go through a democratic process. This is a legislation. You have not even tabled the thing to Parliament yet. If it was a priority to you, for which reason you captured in your 120 days, you should have at least placed it before Parliament as of now. You haven't even sent these legislations to Parliament yet, let alone to say that, oh, it got to Parliament and Parliament delayed. You have not sent it the review of the Customs Act. You have been taking it there. You haven't. You don't need any Parliament to delay you to be able to remove the vehicle, the industrial vehicle tax you say you remove. If you wanted to remove it, you would have removed it in the budget, just as you did for the e-levy. You were not ready to remove it, and that's why it's still there. And so you just couldn't do it. You have not been able to remove the COVID levy. If you wanted to remove it, you would have removed it together with the e-levy. It's here. You didn't do it. So, I mean, we need to understand that the critical things that the NDC haven't fulfilled are the hardcore things, the things that would impact the Ghanaian people. The ones they have fulfilled are convene the consultative meeting, commence the drafting of a policy for 24 hours. Even if you haven't commenced it, how do we know? As we speak, you may not have even commenced it. We will not know. But of course, we give it to you because that is what you said in the contract. But how about the hardcore things that you haven't done, which you indicated in the contract? Carry out a shake-up of the loss-making SOEs. You haven't done that. You said it. We didn't say it. You said you are going to carry out a shake-up of the loss-making SOEs and realign them to break even and transition into profit-making. We didn't tell you to put this word in there. What you have done is to terminate and replace the appointment of CEOs. To the best of the Ghanaian knowledge, you have not carried out any shake-up. None. If you appoint 57 ministers and you are spending 2.7 billion cedis in running your government machinery, as against the government you called bloated, that was spending 327 million on over 100 ministers. Clearly, you are causing waste. You are inefficient. You are the one causing the burden on the Ghanaian person. And so you haven't fulfilled that. You cannot tell me you've simply fulfilled it because you reduced ministries to 50. The essence of reducing ministries, as you explained it, was not to just give us some nominal numbers. It was to ensure that the causal effect will be less burden on the Ghanaian taxpayer. But today you are spending more. And that's why I say that of what benefit is it for you to give us less ministers and spend 2.7 billion cedis on them, as against the so-called bloated government that spent 327 million cedis on them. My point is that this government should take this governance business seriously. They should stop talking. They are talking too much. Today, I see the government functionaries all over the place saying that, oh, we've done only 120 days, so give us time. At the same time, they are taking credit for the dollar that is coming down. I don't have a problem with that. I think that the government should take credit for every good thing and also take the fall for every liability. And so I hope they are ready for it. Because, I mean, as you recollect, go and check the history of the currency. As at May, this day, May 8th or May 9th, 2024, the dollar was at the same price as it is today. And the cedi was at the same price as it is today against the dollar. Last year by this time, the same price. The same price. And so I hope that they are able to do whatever it is they say they are doing and bring the dollar even further down to about 7 or 8 or 9. But they should keep the same energy. They are responsible for it in 120 days as they claim for the dollar. They should keep the same energy. And you are aware, Sammy, that this is not the first time it has been declared as the best performing currency in the world. This is not the first time. It's not the first time. They should keep the same energy. But the talking is too much. Don't come play semantics with us. Get the work done. As we speak, the industries you claim, you are going to remove e-levy so that it will ease the cost of doing business on them. They don't have electricity to run. I live in the Tema enclave. A lot of factories have started working at 50% capacity because of the lack of stable power. On top of it, you have added 14% to the cost of the power that they are buying. You have not only robbed Peter to pay Paul, you have robbed and murdered Peter to come and pay Paul, because you removed 1% e-levy only for you to come and impose 14% price hike on electricity.
Okay.
How does it benefit the businessman? Remember that to use e-levy was even a matter of choice.
Okay.
The businessman can decide not to do an electronic transaction. If it fails, it will hit his business. But it is not a matter of choice for him when it comes to the use of utilities, electricity.
Okay.
So what this government has rather done in the first 120 days, Sammy, is to rather burden the businessman and burden the Ghanaian people, and then they want to play semantics and grammar.
All right, then I'll come back to you. Doug, have you burdened the Ghanaian?
That's what I was wondering. I'm wondering where these figures are being
because from what he is saying,
I mean, but you do Momo transactions.
I do.
Right? Do you have a sigh of relief or not?
I ask the questions.
No, I know you
I ask the questions.
Let's say hypothetical. This is a hypothetical question.
I ask the questions.
We all do Momo.
Allow me ask the question.
Go ahead.
Allow me ask the question. He believes that taking e-levy off, yet implementing a 40% increase on utilities, especially light, and then 4% on water, is like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I mean, you look at utility increase, it goes in tandem. It's not done in isolation. It goes in tandem with the economic exigencies of the moment and the indicators of that. The president does not even say that, look, I'm increasing tariffs to this level. The PURC does that. And they do that with the economic prevailing conditions of the time. And that's a reflection of what we have done. The relief that we've taken of Ghanaians as far as e-levy is concerned, among other issues, mind you, there have been key negotiations in the early parts of our administration where Labour engaged with the president and the Labour minister. What happened? We had an increase, a significant increase in public sector pay rise, among other issues, to be commensurate of whatever conditions or prevailing economic conditions of the time. So you see the economy at play here. Right. I mean, for Miracles' boss, who told us that he has locked the performance of the city and given the keys to the IGP, we have not even gone for the keys. Yet we have brought it to this level. So we deserve some commendation. So all of what, I don't know which scorecard of these promises Miracle is conjuring his figures from. Can he share that with us? I mean, you are a media house. Fantastic. You do your research very well. You have put your research out there, and that's what we are engaged in.
Right. Before you go on, can you tell us what actual policies you put in place that has seen the dollar or the cedi perform against?
I mean, the gold board in and of itself, right, was a significant feat to start with. And most people say, oh, but the gold board, you should hear the criticisms even of the gold board in and of itself, forgetting that not majority of it goes into bullion, but forex as well. I mean, yesterday I was having the same debate, right? You see, when we talk about markets, we're talking about speculation, we're talking about signaling. among other issues that play a role, right? People would say, oh, where is that one single policy that the president has put in place? The one single policy is that we have a basket of issues that come together as ingredients for the performance of an economy and a currency. Internal control is a big issue. Government expenditure, wage bill, among other issues, which is brought in, even to the extent of saying, look, don't fly X class when you're out there. You may think these are insignificant, but this have public perception and psyche to the average Ghanaian who feels that, oh, if a government is prudent, I could be frugal as well. Or if the government is frugal, I could try as much as to inject into the economy. When the government becomes very opulent, everyone thinks that, okay, well, this is what is happening. Why don't I hold back my monies as far as investment is concerned? But you would see, track the banking industry. Because what the domestic debt exchange program did was to kill investor confidence. We have come as a government and we've reinvented that. You talk to the banks and see people bringing back deposits to the bank, people signing up to investment schemes, among other issues. And these are signs of a healthy economy. These are signs of confidence in an economy. The signaling you have seen in the last couple of months as far as the Mahama Atufosen economy is concerned is prudence. It's one of good signaling. We came to meet an IMF program. We indicated commitments to the IMF program. No, the very people, let me finish this. The very people who signed up to this IMF program were missing tranches. Right? What led us to a domestic debt exchange program? Under an administration where a central bank posted losses. This is the economy we inherited.
Fair enough.
Which we need to fix before we can even talk about any other thing.
We are racing against time, but just a quick one.
But it's of essence that we also put out to Ghanaians what is actually happening as far as the economy is concerned. But
the one issue that has dominated discussion, which Fred and I were having a conversation before we came on, is about the issue of Galamsey. There was a promise by your government before the election to repeal the law when it comes to the money in forest reserves. Now, is in Parliament
let's be sure, it's the word repeal. Who used the word repeal?
It was the commentary around.
No, by?
Your party?
Who?
No. Your party.
The
promise was
to
ban illegal mining.
Let's be careful here in the word. We're communicating to the public. I'm not saying you are right or wrong, but let's be careful in the words that have been used by the party's manifesto, in the words that a flag bearer, who is the leader of the party, has used. Versus what we think is a commentary and fits media commentary.
No, but
so I want us to be very prudent in actually being guided by our words.
The promise was to stop and ban any form of mining in forest reserves. As we speak now, have we stopped mining in forest reserves? Has the government taken any measure to ensure that mining in forest reserves are stopped?
Well, as you could see, measures have been taken. The president has committed himself to the fight against Galamsey. Right, you would see the mines minister has been charged to do this. You all saw him on national TV in his stakeholder engagement of what to do. The marine guards that has been put in place, which people tease, right? But this will tell you that these are high-level commitments. There have been several operations that are happening, right? But what I keep saying is that, look, you look at Galamsey in and of itself, it's a big thing that we all need to solve, right? It's bigger than we probably think. People think that, look, having bootstraps on the ground, sending military people to go and seize excavators cures Galamsey. Probably the key sponsor of Galamsey, or the middleman you could meet through the Galamsey process, you have their hire man in London or probably in New York somewhere. How do you get to him? So it has to be in the real incentive to put in place. Most often than not, I've worked extensively with mining as far as research is concerned. You see alternative livelihood programs within the mining space, and you see grass cutter rearing. That's one. I'm not saying grass cutter rearing is a bad thing whatsoever, but the social contextualization of some of these, there's the risk people take, right, to go into illegal mining activities with the hope that when they get a certain gram of gold, what it could do to turn their lives around 360. So we have to look at commensurate alternative livelihood programs. I'm taking responsibility. I'm part of any fight against Galamsey because I'm a part of the government. And I share in the president's commitment to this. So, you see, I understand that sometimes we want to see Rambo-style action as far as Galamsey is concerned. But the policy, the initiatives, the security nature of it, you know, before we took office, I saw the UAE embassy make some donations to the government to say a fight against Galamsey. I said, look, it was not money. It's not the 170 million whatsoever. We may need it for afforestation whatsoever. But we all know where the gold ends up, right? It's India and the UAE. Right. So how are we going to sit down as a government with these key embassies to see how we could exterminate what I call black gold, which is galamsey, out of this? So I think that a lot of efforts have been put in by this government, ranging from this. It's a national security issue. It's a national security issue, and I can't say on authority that if there's anything that puts that does not put the president or make the president stay awake at night, is a fight against galamsey.
Right. Doc, thank you very much. Miracles, let me take a final one from you on galamsey. Dr. Khalid feels that the government has shown enough commitment. The government has done well as far as the fight against galamsey is concerned.
I'll take galamsey last, but I think we should address a few issues.
We are racing against time. We should be wrapping up by now. So just your bite on galamsey.
No, I'll come to galamsey.
You have just 2 minutes. You have just 2 minutes.
I spent an hour with you. You gave me 5 minutes. Be fair to me. I am saying that.
Go ahead.
Talking to Doc, and I think Doc and the NDC should quickly transition from the opposition mindset to a government that means business. Listen, Sammy, you don't remove a 1% e-levy and say we should clap for you, only for you to come and impose a 14% utilities on the business people. And you said that you have eased the burden on them. What kind of mathematics is that? That you took 1% off me, of something that is even just a matter of choice, and then you impose 14% tariff, something that I can't do anything about and I must pay. And you're saying that you've eased burden. I think that it's time they move away from their opposition mindset and take this country serious and begin to fix things. And then he says that the government is being prudent and they are being frugal. Listen, the fact is that this government is spending more in running the government than the Akufo-Addo government they call bloated dead. They are spending 2.7 billion cedis in running their government. Akufo-Addo spent 327 million cedis in running his government. No matter how you look at it, this government is burdening the state than the Akufo-Addo government did. So if you bring two people as ministers and you bloat their stomach and you spend so much money on them, we don't clap for you because that is what the promise you made to us. Then I hear Doc say, the banks are doing well. We should ask the banks how much money is being brought to the banks. Sami, go and check and ask Doc. He's aware. The government itself is even failing to mobilize investment for T-bills. They have missed T-bills target for 5 consecutive times. 5 consecutive times. Ask him. And that is why I was telling you earlier that I look at them and they are saying, the dollar is coming down, it's good for, and I'm just looking at them quietly.
We have to go. Just say 30 seconds.
I have been there before. They have done nothing, absolutely nothing. But if they want to take the credit, we'll give it to them. They should be keeping the same energy when the time comes. On galamsey, ask Doc in the studio to mention to you one new policy that was not in existence the time they took office on 7 January. Just one that they have introduced since they came to office. None. Every single thing that is being done about galamsey today are things that have already been running since 2018. And your media house have your reporters with the team. They have been there since 2018. No single new policy have been introduced. Security forces in the forest areas, seizure of galamsey excavators and chamfans. The water guards have been there since 2022.
Okay.
The water guard. The only thing the NDC government has done is to change the color of their uniform. It's been there since 2022.
Okay.
Nobody is asking them to
thank you. We ran out of time. Thank you.
We are simply
thank you very much. We are running out of time. Miracles
implement the specific.
Miracles, thank you. We are running out of time. Thank you.
When it comes to the fight against galamsey.
Thank you, Miracles. Miracles Abuaje is an A2. Doc, we run out of time.
I've exhausted this bloated government issue.
Thank you
We have
very much.
agencies under government.
It's been another exciting edition of the Situation Room that came to you live from our studio here in Accra. My name is Sami Wiafi. I did it with Fred Tete Jabano. On Zoom, Miracles Abuaje and A2, former Vice President Dr. Mahama Bomia. In studio, Dr. Sherif Khalif, who works at the office of the Vice President. So we come away again. May the good Lord be with us all.